TFT, otherwise known as the tapping, is a very clever little technique that's been around since the 1950s. And it was actually designed to help with a disorder known as somatized trauma. So soma as in body, a somatized trauma is the kind of trauma that lives in your body, and it actually lives in your nervous system. So it was designed to help PTSD, panic attacks, anxiety issues, and it's absolutely brilliant for that. When we experience physically this panic or anxiety or even PTSD, we experience it very physically in our solar plexus. So this is an area below your ribs where there's a very big bundle of nerves there, and it's like a blaring kind of a warning sensation. It's an awful feeling, and it's very overpowering. And the TFT is very clever for that. So if you choose to use it for that, you actually can do. But I have discovered in my 15 years as a therapist that it's actually brilliant for sugar cravings because they live in the same place. Your sugar cravings live in your nervous system, they live in your solar plexus, but rather than being a big blaring warning message, are more like a little tickle or like a little pulling sensation, a kind of a little emptiness sort of a feeling. And this is the power of that craving sensation, is that you don't generally notice that feeling. You don't realize that that is what's driving your reaching mechanism. You think it's all of this, your justifier, your persuasion. But it isn't, it's this physical feeling. So if you can knock out this physical feeling, then you've knocked out cravings. You can feel in control of the urge to reach for the sugar. So I'm going to show you how the technique works. So if you just close your eyes for a second, and let's picture your favorite sugary product, whatever that is, whether it's a chocolate bar or the cakes or the biscuits, whatever it is. Just imagine that you've got it in your hand at the moment. Okay, and just imagine that you're starting to put it towards your mouth. And as you do, you can smell the smell of it. You can anticipate what that texture is going to be like and what it's going to taste like when you put it in your mouth. And as you do, I imagine that you've been able, even subtly, to trigger your crave sensation. Just notice what that feeling feels like in your solar plexus. It's there, right? And give it a number between 1 and 10. So 1 being barely there and 10 being almost overwhelming. Whereabouts are you? Once you've got an idea of the number, then we go through the tapping sequence. So if you just feel, first of all, underneath your eye, on your orbital bone, 2 fingers tapping on there. So you want to tap about 20 times or so. You can do either side. It doesn't matter which side. And you'll find that actually 20 is not many. You'll easily do 20. So if anything, you want to do more rather than less. 20 times or so. So tapping along with this routine, this sequence, you'll be able to learn it a lot more easily than in any other way. So then the next part of the sequence is tapping under your arm. So it's just across from your chest, 4 fingers and a definite tap under your arm. So again, we're looking at about 20 taps or so. And as I say, either side is fine. It doesn't take long. You're not going to do this in the middle of Sainsbury's. It's a bit of a strange technique, but it works brilliantly. Okay, so then the next part, excuse me, is in between your ribs. So you have rib, and then you have a little dent where you've got cartilage, and then you've got another rib. So you actually want to be tapping on the cartilage, which is the little dent in between. It's a soft part of your rib, and you want to be making like an echoey kind of a sensation in your chest. So tap quite firmly so that you make this echoey sensation. Again, about 20 times or so. Now the next part of the sequence, in between the last 2 tendons on the back of your hand there, you've got a groove there, tapping on there on the back of your hand. So whilst tapping on the back of your hand, close your eyes and then open them again. Then without moving your head, use your eyes to look down to the left and then down to the right. And then do a nice big eye roll. So what you want to do is take your time with this eye roll. It's a really important part of the sequence. So you almost want to be looking at the inside of your eyelids. So you go all the way around one way, take your time with it, be slow. Do this big circle and then back the other way, all the way around and back again. So you might find you pull faces and all sorts when you do it. It's a funny thing to do. then look down with your eyes, then look up, look down again, and look normally. Now hum a couple of bars of happy birthday. And then count from 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then happy birthday again. So you can use any music, by the way, it's just that everybody knows happy birthday. So we're going to finish off now with under your arm, I should say, and under your arm and under your chest. And that's the whole of the sequence, actually. It's a very quick little sequence, and it is something that's quite portable. So if you find that you've got sugar cravings, and under your arm, if you find that you've got sugar cravings while you're out and about, you can perhaps just nip off somewhere privately and go through this tapping sequence just to see what this feels like. In a second, you'll get a sense of how that feels to tap down this sensation. I use it for all kinds of things. I actually use it for public speaking as well, which again is that anxiety there. I give it to clients who have anxiety to tap every morning before they start the day. So it's a very versatile and a very portable little tool, well worth learning how to use. Okay, so then just close your eyes for a second now. And take a moment to take yourself back to that original thought, that original little sugary product that you had, that little experience. And as you tap into the crave now, that crave sensation in your solar plexus, what sort of number are you looking at now? And as you open your eyes, where is it? I should imagine that you have lowered that crave sensation. You've lowered that physical, that somatized feeling in your solar plexus. Excuse me. If you started out quite high, if you started out on a number 10, then you may well find that you've just tapped down to a 5. Tap again. Go through the sequence twice so that you tap down to as low as you possibly can, if possible down to a 0. Once you've done that, you might actually find that you can't even think about that sugary product anymore. And a lot of people do find that just tapping through that sequence once for that one particular product is enough. So you can either use it in advance before, say, you're going to go out to eat. If you're worried about having a pudding and you really don't want to have a pudding, you can tap away the anticipation, what that pudding's going to, taste like or smell like. You can just really imagine the sickliest pudding that you possibly can. Tap that away. The chances are, as long as you feed yourself well with the right kind of diet, then by the time you get to pudding, you'll be fine. Your little solar plexus will be quiet. And you can also use it if you do find yourself in a crave cycle. If you're in the middle of the reaching mechanism and you feel this urge to reach for the sugar, you've got the little justifier going on there as well, persuading you very well, then you can actually use the tap in there and then. It can be sometimes more difficult to jump into that, especially in the early days. So don't be too hard on yourself if it's not easy to do that at first, but it will get easier over time. And as I say, if you do want to use this tapping sequence for any kind of other nervous system issues, any kind of disorders that you've got, then by all means experiment with it and see what you think. It's an absolutely brilliant little tool and a very powerful one. The nice thing about this little technique is that once you start to use it, you don't build up a tolerance to it. The more you use it, the more powerful it actually gets. That is the beauty of it. Your brain takes about 3 weeks to create some new neurology, to create some new rewiring. And once it does, once your brain becomes familiar with this routine, the moment that you start to use it, you'll feel your solar plexus begin to calm down. It takes a little bit of time, but just invest some time and energy in it, have a practice, and take this tool for yourself. Just own it for yourself and see what you think. I'd be very interested to know. By all means, please do leave any comments underneath when you've tried the tapping out.